Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Loud, a pop culture podcast and our special event series, Ranked and Reviewed, where we are now onto the third Scream movie in our Scream Ranked and Reviewed special event series. So we're over halfway. We're over halfway, baby!
Hey!
Celebration! As usual, you know the jargon, and this is my co-host. Whichever side, it's fucking mirrored. Alan, yep. Hey, ALANNIS Maximus, how you going, man?
I am going good.
And before we get into it, we just got to remind you, as always, that this episode of Loud is sponsored by Smooth My Balls. Keep your balls clean, smooth, and attractive, and get 20% off using the link below. It'll also be in the description, so you can grab that 20% off your razor, and you can get down to business.
Smooth uglies and a discount. It's a win-win situation, really.
Man, it's better than using what I used to use, man. Like, I used to use scissors and just a normal-ass razor, and I tell you, I was fucking bleeding. That's all I'm going to say. I was bleeding. Much like our victims in this movie. I was bleeding. So, anyway, as well, another quick thing, we're going to jump into this. Go like our Facebook page, please. It would mean a lot to us. Go follow us. And also, please subscribe to our channel right now on YouTube. Subscribe. It would mean a lot. Alan, it would mean a lot, right?
It would. We both have children. They need to go to college one day, and you'll help us get them there.
Listen, I got something serious to say about this. And that is, I got a lot of Pokemon cards to collect. So help me out. Because right now, before we get started, I just picked up another sealed Vivid Voltage booster box alongside my Evolving Skies booster box, along with my Chilling Rain booster box, and I'm getting my Fusion Strike one as well. So right now, we're looking at like 2, 4, 7, about $900. Maybe not quite that much, but
Close enough.
Close enough. So let's get down to fucking brass tacks, man. Let's fucking get into it. So, obviously, we're talking about Scream 3. Before we get into it, I'm going to just, bring up a few little interesting things about it, which is runtime. I'm trying to find runtime. Runtime, 1 hour, 56 minutes. Director, Wes Craven. Writers, Kevin Williamson and Aaron Kruger. Starring David Arquette, obviously, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, the whole shebang. And Cotton Weary. I don't know what his real name is, and I know he's in a real show called Ray Donovan.
Lee Schreiber.
Cool. So we'll give you a quick plot run. A new film is currently in production for the Stab series, and a killer is on the loose. The murders draw a reporter, ex-cop, and a young woman to the set of the movie inspired by their life. They soon find out they are dealing with a trilogy. And in a trilogy, anything can happen. That's a terrible plot summary, but that's from IMDb, so that's what I'm giving you. We're going to have a look at some quick trivia before we get into it. Actually, before we get into the trivia, Alan, first of all, I want to know what your overall thoughts are on this movie. And second of all, if you noticed anything that might be trivia related.
I watched it. This is actually the second time I've ever watched it. First time is at the cinema back in 2000. I avoided it for a long time. My takeaway was it's not as bad as I remember, but it's not great.
And I agree. But there's one thing I hope you agree with me. That while not being a good Scream movie, while not being very scary, it was entertaining.
Yes.
I wasn't bored. I really liked all the shots for like, you know, of them on the set of Stab. I think it's Stab 3, yeah?
You're correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that. The scene behind me, I really like how the killer uses Cotton's voice. He's like, "Come on, open the door," and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "Come on, I'm just taking the game to a new level." And she's like, "The game? What do you mean?" He's like, "Come on, open the door, Christine, so I can cut your fucking." And he just goes ballistic. And then the real Cotton, as you can see, oh well, that's a Scream dude. The real Cotton comes in, and the Scream guy's been using his voice. He's hiding in the house still, and Cotton comes in and is confused as fuck. Confused as is why this chick is wondering what the hell is going on. But yeah, I really like that scene. Actually, while we've got it, let's just turn it up for a second so we can give everyone a quick example.
Trying to take the game to the next level. I'm sorry. Come on, open the door, Chris. Not again.
What are you talking about?
Talking about how much fun it's gonna be to rip your insides out. Open the fucking door, Chris.
So I really like that. I really like that. I'm not sure how much I like the ghost face voice not being utilized as much because they're mimicking other people, but I do believe it worked for that scene.
Yes. I think it worked there. Overall, it was a little more. It was less grounded than the other two. Like the other was like a voice changer. Where this little. I don't even know if we have that kind of technology. I don't think we do.
Yeah,
where you can just clone someone's voice so perfectly. So I mean, it worked there, but then it kind of was. It was a little more fantastic, which whilst I like, I didn't like as a Scream movie.
Yeah, and we're getting to the bit now. I'll turn it up again in a minute, just so everyone can hear again. When he enters the room and it's him, and she's freaking out, and he doesn't understand what the hell is going on. Just to give you an example of, you know, how the Ghostface killer used his voice and kind of fucked this guy into a corner. But anyway, yeah, no, I really like it. I don't like the 100% Cotton TV show name. That's fucking lame.
Yep.
We'll wait till we get to this bit. Anyways, yeah, so like, I don't know, tell me what parts you did like.
One thing I like, and was a highlight to me, and I didn't expect it coming, was Jay and Silent Bob being there, which puts them into the Scream universe, which I like. I like that.
I like it too. But it's also a throwback to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, or it's a throw forward to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, was that 2001?
I think so. I think that was a little later on, yeah.
I'll have a quick look, because in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I'm pretty sure you'd remember that they're on the set of a Scream movie when they go to Hollywood to stop Blunt Man and Chronic from being made.
Yeah.
So that was 2001. So this predates it. So I'm guessing that's how they got their connection to the Scream franchise, by, I guess, getting asked to be cameoed in this, and then they did it again in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's kind of a shame because, first of all, Cotton Weary is he's a grease bag. He's a dirt bag. He was trying to hit on a chick in the car while he's got his, you know, wife and all that. This is the part we were talking about here.
The old golf club shutteroony.
Stay back.
So yeah, you can see that Ghostface has manipulated, you know, Cotton Weary, and manipulated his girlfriend at the same time, who, by the way, I'm very upset isn't in it more. I really like her. Not just because of the way she looks. I'm not trying to be sexual here. I think she's really cool. I think she's a cool actress. I would have liked to see more screen time from her. But we were talking about a little bit about this last week. I don't know if you remember, but this wasn't the original idea for Scream 3. Did you end up having to look into that at all?
Yeah, I did look into it a bit because of the whole Columbine thing. And there's actually something interesting with that, which I think does fall in the trivia thing as well. One of the first conversations you have with most of the cast, how you got the Lance Henriksen and whatever, and they're talking about after this kill, or maybe after the first celebrity dies, they actually make a reference about how they might have to pull the plug because of the way movies influence killers, and it's like there's a big statement there when you know the background of this movie, which I thought was a nice touch. At that whole like life imitating life, art imitating life.
Yeah. But are you aware of what the original script was intended to be?
Wasn't it? It was along the lines of Stu was leading essentially a cult from prison to fuck with Sydney.
That was the original intention, but it did go through changes. But the plan was always to bring Stu back, which is why it's relevant to what you were saying about Scream 2 with Stu being in the background of Scream 2. Because as we've all said, Wes Craven has a plan for everything. And why would he just randomly chuck Stu in if he was dead in this candid universe as like sort of a jokey thing when there is no intention for Stu to continue on? So it's kind of interesting because I really would have liked to see this movie without the Columbine massacre happening just beforehand, which is a tragedy. And yeah, just seeing what the movie was originally intended to be, because I do believe that this fell short quite a lot. It wasn't as bad as I remember. It wasn't horrible. It was just not good. It was it was an entertaining movie, but it wasn't an entertaining Scream movie. So
I think that's the best way to put it. It even some of the kills, like it's got some pretty nice kills in there, but
yes,
it doesn't carry it.
I'm trying to think of what probably my favorite kill would be in this movie. What would you say yours is?
I think either the first, like Cotton Weary and his missus, or the one on set where the chick's pricking up all the prop weapons and she ends up getting put through the window and you see like a dead head kind of hanging there. That was a nice one. It was.
I do like when he throws the dude off the balcony.
Yes. Oh, and he pulls the rug out and he does the bloody.
Which I had to laugh at, man, because that's so fucking Looney Tunes. It's so funny. I just picture I don't know, Bugs Bunny like running. Well, no, okay, better. I picture Roadrunner running, stopping at the carpet, and then Wile E. Coyote just going zoink and then fucking it up for some reason, and then the meep and runs off. You know what I mean? Like that's how I felt watching that scene. But I did like the kind of like humor that they threw into that part where the dude that got thrown off the balcony was running away and he's running down the stairs and it's quiet, and then you see Ghostface appear at the top of the stairs and you hear him say, "Oh, you motherfucker!" Like I really like that part. What do you think about the climax, like the mansion ending? Because I liked it to an extent being like sort of like a seedy old Hollywood celebrity party place from a famous director. So it would kind of remind me of like a Weinstein vibe, because the vibe that they give off in the movie is that a lot of naughty stuff happened here because it's a casting couch, it's a director, it's a producer. There was celebrities from everywhere. So I kind of got the vibe that that's what they were leaning towards with that mansion and the secret doors and the secret cinema room and all that. I felt like it was more like a shady, back in the day, sort of flop party house for the rich and the famous, I guess.
All right, yeah. So the wrap up was, it didn't have. I think it wasn't bad, but it didn't have the impact of the last two. I don't think. Like it wasn't kind of.
It definitely didn't, but I do believe that it has some higher moments in it than Scream 2. So, like, for instance, I got bored in Scream 2 during the play scene and all that stuff, and that kind of felt like the movie slowed at that point. Whereas with this movie, I never really felt like it slowed. I felt like it just kept going. I was never sitting there going, "Oh my god!" Like, and I wasn't doing that with Scream 2, but like that play scene and the confusing thing of if it was Ghostface on the stage or if it wasn't, and all that stuff, just fucking that's a low point. That's probably the lowest point for me in this series, all up. Scream 3 is a low point as a movie completely. It isn't better than Scream 2, but it definitely doesn't have that low point that Scream 2 hits middle ground. I don't know if you agree with that.
I didn't find myself getting bored. It was really well paced, but I don't think it was, when it was good, it wasn't as good. I think
Of course, that's exactly right. But do you know what I did find kind of scary out of this movie, but that's scarier than anything Ghostface does or anything like that, which is the moment that Sydney walks into her old bedroom on the set and the dead body that's her mum under the rug, like under the white sheet with the blood all over her.
Yeah.
That stuff. I found that stuff actually kind of creepy and sort of
unsettling.
And I found that probably more unsettling than anything in Scream 2. I don't know why that unsettled me, but there was a couple of scenes. It was that scene, and then I think it was used again at the end in the mansion scene. Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
So those two bits I found very creepy. I didn't like the ghost mum thing walking up to the thing. The only thing I did like about that is when she puts her fingernails against the windows and does that on the windows, and the blood from her fingernails along the windows. That was creepy, but the whole envisioning that thing happening was really cheesy in my mind.
Yeah.
Yes. An interesting tidbit quickly, just while I remember, you know how the movie ends where she would usually lock the door and they're like, "Hey, Sid, we're going to watch a movie." And she goes, "What movie?" And they go, "You have to come see." And she like looks back at the door and then walks away with it open. And you kind of have that last shot of the door open and then it fades.
Yeah.
There was actually more filmed after that. Guess what movie they were watching?
What movie?
Randy's videotape, parts that we didn't see.
Oh, wow.
And apparently it goes along the lines of something like, he goes, "I always talk about horror movies, but I want you guys to know that my life isn't all just gloom, horror, and gore. My life, I love these are some great comedy movies and blah, blah." So it was like that. And they were going to sit around, have sort of a laugh. And then that was kind of going to be it. You know what I mean? But instead they ended up cutting that and just leaving it for the door at the end, which I find interesting. I also don't understand the mentality of Sydney wanting to live out in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere with a guard dog who I could punt across the room. Not that I would. I fucking love animals, and I've got a fat dog here to prove it. But I'm just saying, this dog does not look big. Would you be scared of a golden retriever that's walking around the way it's walking around? You know what I mean? Like, I felt like that's why I chose the dog, yeah? Guard dog.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, like the first kill with Casey in the Scream 1, out in the middle of nowhere. Stu's party, out in the middle of nowhere. Scream 3, she's out in the middle of why wouldn't you be living in flats, in city, suburb, whatever, like where it's like, if you're coming in, you've got to buzz up. You've got to climb 7 flights of stairs. The neighbors have got to hopefully not hear you. But actually, that's kind of what Cotton Weary's house is like at the start.
That is true.
But why would have the neighbors not heard? Is this like one luxury condo, or was this like multiple apartments into one thing? That's something I'd have to probably look into.
Yes.
Tell me some of the things you really hated.
Some things it felt, I don't know if it was intentionally left in to be kind of go off what Randy says in his video as like the person's got to be superhuman, change the rules. But the script, I found out it was because the script was intended for 2 killers. But what really got to me a lot of the time, especially towards the end, was Ghostface was in 2 places at once. And just having the one killer there, it put me off. I don't think they should have included that when they're going to have it as only one killer. It gave it that. And once again, whilst it's good in horror movies and it works for Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers or whatever, that was the whole thing about Ghostface for the first two for me. It was that grounded, like there's a reason why they're there and it's all planned out and it's all clever. When he's just appearing places and cutting people off, it's like, I didn't like that for a Scream movie. That let me down. And the whole gas explosion scene, that I tried to believe it, but it's like, you've cut the power out. The fax machine still works. There's a lighter placed here really conveniently for one dude to light and blow up. It's like, this is just a series of really fortunate events. It's like, come on, man. Like, you didn't plan this.
That was one scene I couldn't handle either, and I couldn't handle the fact the dude was like, I have to know what's gonna happen. Like, if you just don't go in and you just wait it out, I'm sure you'd still be able to find out exactly what was gonna happen without going in there. And this was some forward-thinking bullshit from Ghostface, man. This guy can tell the future because he cut the power. Not only did he go, oh, well, they're not going to use a flashlight. He assumed that they were going to use a lighter or candles. And, yeah, so he's like, and it goes to whoever smells the gas, and he's got the lighter lit. And it's just like, how did Ghostface be like, what if he had a torch? That's what I want to know. Would have Ghostface been like, oh, fuck, do I just come in?
Or what if they all just ran down that hill, they got blown down to a road and went away? Escape wasn't hard for them. Like,
no.
It was one of those scenes where it's like, yeah, you couldn't have planned this.
And also, the way that in that scene, the way the killer gets shot against the car and then just goes under the car, like rolls under that. There wasn't even like a moment where he lay there for a second and went, oh, I better roll under the car. He was like, whoop, and rolled under the car on purpose and then disappeared. You know what I mean? Like, it was that quick. I do feel like, to make sense of like Roman's actions and how he would have gone by each kill and how he got in, like, instead of like dissecting it with who was behind the mask, we know who was behind the mask this entire time in this movie, and it was Roman. So I do find that a lot of this stuff, he must have had some really quick teleportation skills and stuff like that for certain things. I'm still not sure. Again, this has got another one of those head-scratching moments where, was the Ghostface dude actually in the set with Nev Campbell at the time? Because he seemed to disappear in the middle of the fucking nowhere. And these cops run in and they're like, nope, no one's in here, chief. And it's just like, surely, if in a studio, in a film studio, you have the soundstage. In that soundstage, it's a box with a door entry. You've got the house built. There's no way out. There's maybe a fire exit, which if you open the fire exit, it would make a noise. Again, am I dissecting these movies too much? Yes, but that's the point.
Yes. It's that's exactly, there's it wasn't as thought out. But having said that, with the two spots at once, there was one thing, and you probably read it as well, that initially it was written for Angelina to be the second killer.
Yep.
And
Angelina's the one. Angelina's that's not Randy's sister, is it? Or is that Randy's sister? Or is it the other chick that was like collecting stuff and then trying to put the Ghostface mask on in the bathroom and shit like that?
Oh yeah, I might have the name wrong. Yeah, the chick who played Sydney in Stab.
Okay, I'll quickly look that up right now, who it is. Just so we get her name correctly for everyone that's watching. So we've got cast. Here we go. We have. I'm trying to find. Sorry, one sec. You keep talking anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, you get to your point. I'll find her.
So, Mumbly Joe. It's if you look at it in the way of she was the second killer, because her death was interesting. She just kind of gets dragged off just after a fake out from Roman.
Yeah.
It's like, is she dead? And is she maybe a killer that got away? And that's why they were everywhere. Because if you watch it in the sense of maybe she still was the killer,
Yeah.
and maybe she either got killed or it was a fake out and she escaped, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And I think makes it a bit more watchable. So
I'm just
it's a
going
little
back.
bit of a tip for anyone that's going back to it.
Is her name Angela?
Angela, yes. I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So her real name is Emily Mortimer.
Yes, that is the one.
Yeah. Cool. I just looked that up. By the way, I am adding our rankings into this right now. So far, we're going to show them at the end what our rankings are, because I already know what your ranking is, just from what
Yes.
you said last week. So we're going to bring them up, which is, our rankings in progress towards the end, so you can see where we're at so far, and I wonder what will happen with the next entry. But
Yes.
anyway, we're going to go into some trivia, just so we can have a chat about that. So let's go into trivia for this movie that I won't watch again really quickly. I'd say it'll be another 10 years before I watch this one again.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, pretty much.
Keep up.
I could go maybe another 10, 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. I've seen it again, and it's got a little bit more love, so it's earned some achievements. It should be proud of itself.
What did you think of the villain this time overall, like Roman himself?
He was less likable, which I think in itself was a bit of a good throw off. And
That's
it was
what I was saying last week, which is we always
Yeah.
tend to lean towards the killer because that we like the person who ends up being the killer, because they're always the most charismatic or fun to be around or whatever. And I find Roman the complete opposite.
he was pretty absent as well. Like Billy and Stu and Debbie and Mickey, they've got some very central parts.
Mhm.
Whereas Roman was kind of there, then he was there, not there, then he just kind of popped in and out. He wasn't as didn't really think of him as one of like the core characters.
Yep. Okay, so I'm looking at some of this. Oh my god, that's one piece of oh, thank God. Man, this movie could have been a hell of a lot worse reading this trivia. Guess who could have been in this movie? You ready? Tia Leone was a strong contender for the role of Jennifer Jolie and was called back several times during casting, but filmmakers ultimately decided on Parker Posey being more suitable and was cast instead. Thank God, because I'm sorry, but out of all the actresses and actors in the world, Tia Leone really, really fucks me off.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean. She's just so annoying. What do you like? Have you ever seen Tia Leone in a movie that you thought she was really good in, man? Or do you enjoy her work?
Not really. I think Tia Leone is one of those things from the 90s that is best left in the 90s.
Can I give you an example of why she's terrible? I saw Jurassic Park 3 in the cinemas when I was in grade 6. And the amount of times she screams, Eric! And the amount of times she gets told to shut the fuck up and continues on, Eric! That's enough for me. Tia Leone, you're done. You're ruined. So that was one thing. The budget for this was $40 million. This cost $25 million more than the original Scream and $16 million more than Scream 2.
That's surprising. But then again, I think there's more names in there now, and having Courtney Cox and David Arquette who were kind of peaking in fame at that time, that's probably what drove it up. So I suppose not too surprising.
Definitely. And this is an interesting one. An alternate opening was written, but never filmed. The opening scene contained Sydney Prescott and a friend of hers alone in the house in a different state, getting ready to watch a video. Unbeknownst to Sydney, the killer calls Sydney and her friend, claiming that he is in the house watching them, which turns out to be true. The killer jumps out from a closet and attempts to attack a frightened Sydney and her friend. Sydney, however, pulls out a gun and shoots the killer several times. Upon unmasking him, the killer turned out to be a fan who was pulling a prank on Sydney.
Oh,
Which would have been better than the opening to this movie.
yes.
And
Yes, I am.
added
I
a
like
completely
that.
different element.
Yeah. I still, that's another thing that gets me in it as well. How did Roman get her number? And if he could get that, why go to Cotton? Like, I don't understand that part. I don't know if it's maybe I missed something, but that seemed really strange to me. That suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I can call Sydney. I've been looking for her, but lols, I'll call her.
I also find, I don't know if you noticed, but like at the end of when the killer's unmasked, they get like a sort of a speech and get to tell us their motivation or what their motivation is. This is by far the longest bit of dialogue, the longest explanation we have to have. And it seems like he has to dive really deep in for the audience to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I just find it really lazy when something so plot heavy, like having an unknown brother, happens off screen. And it happens not even off screen, it happens in between movies. So when you've got this movie, of course we weren't going to pick that motivation. Like with the other movies, you could sit there and kind of pick apart and try to guess. And if you were really careful, like when we watched them the second time or the third time or whatever, you can see, okay, I now know who's doing this. Where it could have been any motherfucker at the end of this movie except Roman. The only reason Roman made sense was because of the plot that they gave him that wasn't even included in any of the films and happened completely off script, off screen. And that was a bummer, man. Like that was a pretty big bummer.
It was very heavy on the misdirects as well. Like it kind of had you thinking, "Hey, is it the cop?" And it had you thinking, Angela as well. There was a lot of moments where it's like they were pointing towards them, and it was.
Well, this is probably why, man. Screenwriter Aaron Kruger was I hate this word. Frenetically rewriting while filming had started.
I saw that in the credits. I didn't know what he did, but do you reckon that he was it's obviously Wes Craven movie? Do you reckon he was going through the list of people to be the screenwriter and he's gone, Kruger, you're hired? I like to think so.
I don't know, man, but that's a good thing to put together. But that's one thing we never mentioned about Scream 1 was the Wes Craven cameo Freddy Krueger janitor thing. We never mentioned that.
Yes.
We never mentioned that, which doesn't apply now. But anyway, the other thing we're looking at here is, okay, so yeah, it was supposed to come out in 1999. The film was moved from its original December 10th, 1999 release date to February 4th, 2004. And now this is another little bit of interesting thing. February 4th, 2000, sorry. Due to all the complaints about blood in the first two movies and all the copycat killings, the producers were actually, for a second, considering doing a bloodless Scream movie, to which Wes Craven replied, "Come on, guys, this is a Scream movie. A compromise was agreed upon. They would continue the tradition of many killings in the movie, but they would be mostly bloodless this time. Sort of in the vein of Halloween or other discreet thrillers. The slasher fanboys and even the critics were not impressed, calling this outing the tamest of the bunch," which I would have to completely agree with.
Yes. There's a lot more implied violence. Like you kind of, I definitely think it was less in your face violent.
Yep, and this is another one that's interesting. Miramax, the pig Weinstein company, was so concerned about protecting the movie's plot secrets that no journalists were allowed to see the finished film until 2 days before it opened. Then it says it took 34.7 million in its opening weekend, the most any film had ever had during the January to April period at that time, and the most Miramax had ever earned from any debuting film.
Wow.
I'm interested.
I wonder how it tracked after that really successful opening weekend.
And what the fuck? Jamie Lee Curtis was offered the role of Bianca Burnett, but turned it down.
Yeah. I don't know how I would have felt about that.
The film never had a public test screening. The cast and crew only had their first chance to see the finished product at the premiere because of fears of spoilers being put out on the internet. And I'll have one more trivia item before we get into a little bit more discussion. Nev Campbell's contract allowed her to be on set for just 20 days, which is why Sydney has less screen time than in other films. As a result of her being reduced, more emphasis was put in the supporting characters.
Yep, they were less. I don't know if it was intentional, but they were less likable in general. Like, they were all pretty repellent, I found. Like, I didn't really go to any of them. I like you. I hope you don't die.
I actually have to disagree. I do like the main cop.
Oh, yes. So I mean, maybe to clarify, like, more the Hollywood people, the people who are actually in the movie being hunted.
Yeah, no, but I believe the cop Patrick Dempsey, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I really like him in it. I kind of really liked how he was like really trying to be like the savior. And I kind of wish that's kind of how it turned out for him. You know what I mean? He dies, yeah?
I know he gets busted up, but I don't think he actually dies.
Okay, so maybe he doesn't die. So that's good then.
Yeah.
Also, Wes Craven filmed 3 different endings and didn't tell the cast which one he was going to use.
Nah.
So yeah, like, what did you think about sort of leaving? See, we've already left Woodsboro with Scream 2. I would have kind of wanted this to return to Woodsboro rather than the Hollywood setting, but I totally get why they did the Hollywood setting just because of the whole movie aspect. But reading some things earlier on, it was originally meant to be set in Woodsboro, and the movie was meant to be shooting in Woodsboro. And I kind of would have liked that because, as I've said many a times, I don't just think Woodsboro is a backdrop. I feel like it is a character itself.
Yes.
The school, the way the houses look, just sort of everything around, like the video store in the original one, like everything around it just kind of felt like a small kind of little town. And I don't know, I kind of feel like in the second one, yeah, it was more not around the town, it was more around the campus. But the third one, I just feel like Hollywood's just such a big expanse. And I do feel like that all these people do put themselves in danger. Like, none of them need to go to the studio while this is going on. They're getting killed off in the order that they're killed off in the script. Just don't go. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. At this point with these movies and with all this stuff happening over and over and over and over and over to the same people, you just think that they tackle things differently rather than, hey, that's happening again. Guess I'm needed over there. That's like going into a shark pit. You know what I mean?
I'd be like the cameraman from the second one to be like, I'm going away. Once
Exactly.
this goes over, I will come back.
And I didn't take notice actually. Was Dewey's limp worse or better this time?
It was better, but it was still very overpronounced. It's yeah. And that mustache, it was bugging me as well. I don't know why, but this movie, his mustache seems more annoying.
Well, look, I can't say much about number 4 because we're coming up with that next. But like, the thing I'm excited about with it, rewatching it, is returning to Woodsboro, and sort of taking it away from this level that it's been put on with Scream 3, where it's kind of become. I mean, Scream 3 is so tame, man, that like once Quinn reaches 10 or 11, I wouldn't care if he watched it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Scream 1 and 2, there's no fucking way. I just feel like there's a lot more in Scream 1 and Scream 2, especially Scream 1, that, you know, a 10 or 11-year-old couldn't handle. But with Scream 3, I almost feel like it's an entry-level horror movie because it's just that tame.
Was it? It was M. This couldn't have been MA this time around. It would have been M, right?
Yeah, I believe I can check for you right now, actually. It is rated. Okay, that's fucking weird. It's rated MA. Yeah, so it's rated MA, which is fucking crazy. But we got a couple of spoiler trivia things which are really interesting. Carrie Fisher helped rewrite some lines.
That is bizarre.
A big twist was planned for the killings to be caused by insane fans of the Stab movies. The twist would come where Sydney, Nev Campbell, visited a house where all the teenagers had been killed, only for the bodies to get up and reveal themselves as the killers. Which is, again, that whole thing I was pointing at where people are trying to, like, where they were originally going to try and make this, like, a big joke on Nev Campbell, like Sidney Prescott. And I was like, don't fucking, what are you doing? And one other little bit, another idea for Jamie Kennedy to reprise his character as Randy Meeks was to have him survive the stabbing in Scream 2, his family having rescued him secretly. This was ultimately deemed to be too far-fetched, so Randy was resurrected via a post-mortem video appearance instead. Too far-fetched? This whole fucking movie is too far-fetched. I don't know, man. That's fucking whack. And I will read one more bit of trivia, which is originally the ending consisted of Sydney easily defeating Roman, which led into an early morning scene of police arriving and then into a final scene of Sydney in her house. The production considered that this amounted to essentially 3 endings, damaging the pace of the film. And there was also consideration that being the concluding chapter of the first 3 movies, the audience needed to believe that Sydney could lose and die, something her easy victory did not achieve. To create the alternate ending, the fight scene between Sydney and Roman was extended, and in addition involved Roman shooting Sydney seemingly to death, while previously she had simply hidden from the character. So, to me, it sounds like there was a lot of really good ideas for this movie that didn't happen, and they went a different way instead, and it didn't pan out, in my opinion. As I said, it's not a terrible movie. I could watch it again for a bit of fun, one day maybe in the background, whatever. It's not like I sat there going, this is fucking terrible, like as if I was watching Halloween 6 with fucking Paul Rudd in it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't on that level of terrible. It wasn't even on the terrible level of like even though I don't hate it as much as I did, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Like, this was not on that level. This was an enjoyable, action-based, very minor horror movie that, you know, I do think if you haven't watched it in a long time and you have like an opinion on it that you don't like it or something, give it another go. Don't take it into the, like, you know, don't take it too seriously. Don't take it in the same vein as you would the other Scream movies. Take it as in more of like, I'm going to put on something that's like enjoyable and entertaining and just sort of fun. And second of all, well, not second of all, many of all, what did you think of I don't know if it was the same person playing Ghostface, but do you feel like Ghostface was played a little differently through this movie compared to others?
Yes, he was very ballsy. He was there was no real pulling his punches, and yeah, I think that was the main thing I picked up on it. It was I think a little less brutal as well once he did get his kills. It was kind of which we've obviously touched on the reason for. But yeah, it was there's a distinct difference between him, even like Unmasked, Masked, the way he does the whole thing and orchestrates it all. It's very distinctly different from the other four. Like they're very first two movies, the killers are very similar in their motives. Like you have the one setting it up, you have the one kind of doing the heavy lifting. And yeah, it's he was more planned out as well. Like taking hostages was a new thing. Like never really relied on kind of a bait situation in the other movies. Whereas in this, he gets Dewey and Gale, and calls Sidney and goes, "Hey, I'll kill your friends," which was
well, see, I miss things like it didn't even happen in Scream 2 often, which is I want the killer to do the Billy thing, which is they lock themselves in the car and he's got the keys and he dangles the keys in front of them. I want him to be showy. I want him to be confident, and I want him to be menacing. And that's what I feel like when he's dangling the keys, or like when he's standing behind Randy watching the television, or that shot when he runs across through the hallway in the starting of the first movie with Casey. Like those shots are menacing, and everything he does is menacing in those movies. And in this one, I just felt like he was sort of paint by numbers. Like there's a couple of shots I really do like of him, like where he's standing in front of the projector and he's kind of like facing upwards, talking with his like showing his bulletproof vest. I like that shot of him. And I also like at the start of the movie when he has Cotton and he holds up the voice changer and he goes, "You should have just told me where Sydney was, Cotton. Now you die." And stabs him, Those two were really cool. And as I said, I really like the whole using Cotton's voice and like stabbing through the door and all that sort of shit, and the way that the line was delivered. Like I'm talking about how fun it's going to be when I cut you. I liked all that stuff. But apart from those scenes, I just felt like it was like Ghostface, run. Ghostface, stab. Ghostface, run. Fall. Like it wasn't like add charm, add character, like with the key dangling and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do feel like Ghostface was kind of given a sort of a backseat in this movie to sort of be like, yeah, you are the killer, but you are a different killer. And while I understand that, like I know that Michael Myers, they try to play Michael Myers the same most movies. Especially these Halloween Kills ones, they're trying to do Michael Myers justice and like kind of make him what he was, which is a force to, be reckoned with. And I just feel like they should have done that with this movie. They should keep Ghostface being confident, being snarky, being sort of ahead of the curve, where I felt like Roman never was ahead of the curve. I always felt like he was kind of a step back, except for maybe the hostage thing and that,
Yeah.
Also, he wasn't very thorough with her doing the metal detector on the guns in her legs, by the way.
No. He I feel that was a little bit lazy. Although I did notice in that scene one thing I did like. That's when I don't know how obvious it was in the rest of the movie, but I noticed she had the necklace of her half-dead boyfriend.
Yep.
The what is it? Brotherhood or whatever they call it. In college, she still has that necklace. I thought that was a cool little throwback that was still being held onto as well.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, I'm really so for all of you, like we've been just doing the theatrical cuts of these movies. With Scream 4, we're going all out. We're doing the director's cut because the original cut, I believe, is about an hour and 40 minutes. And the director's cut, I believe, is about 2 hours and 10 minutes, something like that. So it kind of adds nearly half an hour of footage. So if you're trying to keep up to date with us and watching the movies as we go, so you can kind of remember and join in on the convo, or, see if we notice things you didn't, make sure you check out the director's cut of Scream 4 before next review, because that's where we're heading. Scream 4 director's cut. We're not watching the theatrical cut. So we're going to go into depth about a lot of stuff that, you might not have even seen if you haven't seen this cut. And while it is illegal, if you want to watch it, it's up on YouTube, incomplete, for free, the director's cut. So you don't have to sign up to any, streaming devices. You can do it. Just type in Scream 4 full movie, and it'll probably be the first thumbnail that comes up. So we're going to be doing the director's cut next week. Now, let's end it off with what was your favorite character in this, your least favorite character, and I'll do mine, and then we're going to show our rankings.
Yeah.
So begin with, who was your most liked character in this movie?
Most liked character, I think, was a tie between the cop and the bodyguard. But I'm a little biased because I don't dislike Patrick Warburton in anything.
Thank you for bringing up the bodyguard, because man, Putty, as I always am going to refer to him,
or the Tick, either is acceptable.
In The Emperor's New Groove, in this, he is the exact same fucking character in all of these movies. I just love it. I was like, hey, Bert, you want to give me something from the fridge? He's just so fucking like, oh, I don't know about that one. Like really, like, how he's like, the guy that's going to sell give Jerry a good car deal on Seinfeld, and like it all crumbles to pieces, and then like he ends up taking Jerry's car hostage, I think, or something like that. I don't know, but Putty's great. And yeah, I agree. He was one of the best characters. And who was the other one you said?
The detective.
Yep, agreed.
What's his name?
Yeah, the guy we met, Patrick Dempsey.
Yes. Hey, they're both Patricks.
And who did you like the least?
I think I disliked the least was probably Angela and the Gale Weathers actor. Both of those I didn't like. But I think they were both, by design, a little bit repellent. I think that was the point of them.
I'm going to go that my favorite is Putty, Patrick Dempsey. And I'm also going to go with my most hated would probably be Randy's sister.
Yeah.
She seems friendly. She seems great, but she seems very awkward.
Yeah.
And on par with her would be the person that plays Sydney. Like meant to be playing Sydney in the movie.
Yes.
I don't like her one bit. I find her annoying, especially like when she's in the toilet cubicle being all creepy, and like Nev Campbell, like Sydney opens the door and she's like got the mask, the phone, everything, and it's just like, you're telling me you're not a part of this, which is what I believe, that he wrote 3 endings with 3 different possible things. I believe she was meant to be in it as a killer and be a main, villain in this. I believe that. Definitely. Just with that shot, and why is she hiding in the toilet? Or I thought it'd be okay to take some souvenirs. Like that's the perfect. That's what I'd say if I was killing people, man.
I think it's to that degree, and I mean, and also when you think of it the way suppose she was, the movie works better. And then when you think about how Wes Craven does things, I wouldn't be surprised if you maybe see a reference to her actually being someone that got away who was a killer, maybe in Scream 5 or across this new proposed trilogy.
Yeah, well, some news I found out about Scream 5, there's a few more featurettes that have come out. One of my favorite characters in the whole franchise, which, again, we're not going to get too deep into, is Kirby, and she's from Scream 4. People were talking about how she might come back in Scream 5, and Kevin Williamson has confirmed that's not happening. Wes Craven wanted her back. Wes Craven is dead. Kevin Williamson, having no honor at all for Wes Craven, doesn't give a fuck, obviously, that the guy's dead. Went, well, that was Wes Craven's idea. He's dead now, so fuck it. It's my way or the highway. So, bit of a shame. But we're going to get into that way more next week with the director's cut of Scream 4. We're going to reveal our current rankings at the moment. So first, I'm going to bring up mine. That's my ranking so far. Scream 1. Scream 2 in second place. Scream 3 in third place. And that's just a pending ranking. When we get the others, Scream 3 could budge. It could all change. And now I'm going to bring up Alan's, which is exactly the fucking same, baby.
Hey!
So, I know there's a few viewers that are going to be happy to hear that we did not put this movie higher than Scream 2. As I believe we've actually been threatened saying, if you put this over Scream 3 over Scream 2, you've lost me.
I would be interested in there. Anyone that does think it goes above, let us know. Because
and give us your
Let us know
points of
why.
why. Because maybe it might change us. And look, at the end, when we come after Scream 5's done and everything, or Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it, and we do our official ranking, everything could be turned upside down. There's going to be twists left, right, and center. Am I the killer? Is Alan the killer? Are we ranking these? You're going to find out. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a fucking great time, and I'm really looking forward to it. Are you looking forward to Scream 4, man? Or are you kind of sitting there thinking, fuck, here we go again?
I'm actually looking forward to it because I watched it. I actually forgot it existed for a long time. And I think it was only maybe 2 years ago I watched it. So it's coming up to that point in time where I'm like, you know what? I could watch that again. So I'm excited to look at it now because I didn't have powerful feelings about it, but I reckon the second watch, especially with the analytical eye, could be interesting to see where that sits in the collective ranking there.
Well, I do believe that we've got a lot more to dive into about alternate plots and alternate killers and things in Scream 4 because there were many. So look forward to that, guys, because I'm looking forward to that. And last week we ended the video again with a song. We did it the first time live on camera. We didn't do it last time because we were kind of very busy. We were running late doing a bunch of other stuff, so I edited it in at the end. Today we're gonna watch half a song together to close the episode out. Before we do that, Alan, how many stars out of 5 for this Scream 3?
Scream 3, I would give it overall horror, considering it's an overall horror movie, I'll be generous and give it a 3.
I'm on the same
It's a good
page.
time,
as
but
you,
it's not a
I'm going
great
to give it a 3. I'm going to give Scream 2 a 3.5. And I'm going to give Scream a 4. I feel like Scream 2 should have been a 4 and Scream should have probably been a 5, but I've already given Scream a 4 because I don't believe it's a perfect movie. But at the end, I think that what we'll do is we'll write down our ratings for each movie at the end of it, the whole lot, and maybe our review, out of 5 stars will change for each movie. But anyways, I give it a 3 as well. Give Scream 2 a 3.5 and Scream 4, Scream 1 a 4. How about you? What do you give Scream 1 again? Was it a 4 or did you give it? Or
I think I gave it a 4. I think, yeah.
So would you say Scream 2 sits in a 3.5 as well for you?
Yeah, I think it's very close. And
you can even go 3.8 scale if you want, man. Like if you want to do 100
I'll
points.
say 3 3/4. I'll say 3.75 because it's very close.
Okay. Awesome.
If we're going to if we want to go into those kind of micro fractions,
Awesome. Well, we're going to end it by watching half of this video. It's not just a Ghostface video. It's sort of a medley, but it's got Ghostface in it, so we'll watch his part anyway. This is, again, from the Merkins with their sort of side hustle thing that they do called the Slash Street Boys. So let's get into it.
Obsessed to find out what was going on inside of him.